Hello, we dive into Meghan Markle's latest red carpet appearance at the launch of Highbrow Hippy, a luxury hair care brand she's apparently invested in. Now, this wasn't just another public appearance. It was labeled as creepy and weird by Britney from the Royal News Network, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that description.
A new red carpet disaster for Meghan Markle, whose appearance at Highbrow Hippy, which is the hair care brand that she's an investor in, alongside her colorist, Katie Lee, being slammed as both creepy and weird by the Royal News Network. And I'm joined now by Britney, the editor of that brilliant channel. And oh my goodness, Britney, this was just completely bizarre. Another appearance without Prince Harry, and she was acting goddamn strange. Certainly not at all in a regal manner. What was going on?
Yeah, so this was a launch of a brand apparently Meghan Markle has invested in, and this is an established hair care salon. It'll cost you about $550 for a coloring, but this whole situation with Meghan and her behavior just continues to get rather bizarre. She's becoming even clingier to other people, not just Harry. And it just comes across as like, is she real? What is she? What's she doing? It's just all comes across as so strange, a little creepy. And it's like, what are you doing? She doesn't even have this sort of decorum you would expect from someone who's even spent a smidge of time with the royal family, because I have met Kate very briefly, and I was very starstruck, but also very conscientious of the fact that she was royal. And Meghan just doesn't come across that way at all. She just still comes across as very much a D-list celebrity.
This event was a masterclass in awkwardness, performativity, and the glaring question: what exactly is Meghan Markle trying to accomplish without Prince Harry by her side? Stick with me as we break down 15 segments of this disaster, analyze what it says about Meghan's ongoing PR strategy, and discuss the deeper implications for her fading public image.
Yeah, I was really interested in some of your reporting about her body language and actions during some of this Highbrow Hippy event. Let's take a quick look at some of it.
But it's good. Thank you guys so much for being here.
And you can actually see this is Meghan Markle right there.
I don't know if we have the words of gratitude, at least I don't, to express how much each and every one of you guys mean to us, and I am not going to cry.
So if you'll actually notice here is that Meghan Markle, let's see if we can get it, is actually clinging to this guy right here. And he also sells hair care products at this particular salon. And so Meghan Markle's clinging to his shoulder. Why? I don't know. It's just weird. And of course they have a gospel choir singing. Don't know how gospel they actually are. And so then you got this. And I wonder,
And Britney also tweeted about this. Yikes, the behavior gets creepier. What on earth is Meghan Markle thinking? She needs to figure out how to act with a bit of decorum, and for her age, this behavior is so odd. Meghan Markle has this weird thing of clinging to people like a 12-year-old girl. This ridiculous pose makes her look desperate, insecure, and performative. There's a way of sharing closeness without needlessly clinging to people. Also, it seems like she's keeping with the trend of making horrible business investments. The idea that she's some sort of entrepreneur is an absolute joke. Every public investment she's made is with a company that has limited growth potential, a niche side of an overly saturated market, and all have limited scalability. She needs to find a new career. As she promotes someone else's business, it also brings up the question if she'll ever get her own off the ground. It's been 8 months and she has nothing to show for America Riviera Orchard. It makes her seem wildly incompetent as a businesswoman, and her lackluster investment strategy does nothing to alleviate that.
Let's start with the basics. Meghan Markle's attendance at the Highbrow Hippy launch. This is a luxury hair care brand where services cost up to $550. A far cry from relatable, wouldn't you say? Meghan appeared solo, which immediately raises eyebrows. Where was Prince Harry? Now, according to Forbes, Meghan's investments have often leaned toward high-end, niche markets, which makes this appearance unsurprising but tone-deaf. With the economy as strained as it is, most Americans aren't looking for $550 hair care treatments. Meghan's disconnect from the everyday struggles of regular people couldn't be more apparent.
And Brittany, I thought that was brilliant analysis, which of course you no longer get in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media of coverage of this event was, oh wow, Meghan looked so incredible. How amazing is Meghan's new business? I mean, the Daily Mail is now so far up this woman's behind. It is completely bizarre, that total 180. But I want to pick up on a little bit of what you've said there, because there is a real issue, isn't there, that she has now diminished her standing so significantly. She turns up to a really low-class event for, let's be honest, a low-class product, and she is diminishing her own brand so significantly because it's no longer an exciting proposition for anyone to sign her up.
Exactly. I think American Riviera Orchard, whatever future it has, it's looking increasingly dim because she's going and promoting someone else's business, which is actually very small. She's only adding 2 products. They're very expensive. Most people wouldn't be able to afford $206 for a couple of, hair and beauty supplements and a scalp serum, is my understanding. So she has these products that she's helping to promote, but I'm like, but where is her own business? She should have this business ready to go. And yet she looks, I think, constantly distracted and distractible because she should be focusing on American Riviera Orchard, yet she's promoting this product and that product. It's like, but what about your own products? You need to have a company to actually grow and make money at the end of the day. And so this appearance just struck me as just so incredibly bizarre and over the top. And I've watched royals for a really long time. I just don't see royals ever behaving this way. It's just strange. It's cringy. I don't think makes her look like something or someone who is very investable at this point, because she just sort of looks like somebody who's desperately clinging to anything she can and is willing to invest, but only really for, you could say, her own gain in terms of she wants freebies from someone or something.
Here's where it gets bizarre. Meghan was seen clinging to the shoulder of a male colleague at the event, a gesture Britney described as creepy and weird. Patriots, body language matters. This wasn't just awkward. It felt performative, as if Meghan was trying too hard to appear emotional and connected. As earlier disclosed by the Daily Mail, Meghan's solo public appearances have been increasingly scrutinized, and moments like this only add fuel to the fire. If her goal was to appear relatable, she missed the mark by a mile. During her speech, Meghan thanked the attendees with what appeared to be teary-eyed gratitude, but the delivery felt more like an audition than a heartfelt moment. Patriots, let's be honest. This isn't the first time Meghan has been accused of performative emotional displays. According to Vanity Fair, critics have long pointed out her tendency to over-dramatize in public settings. It's hard not to see this as another attempt to pull focus, especially without Harry there to share the spotlight.
Also, Highbrow Hippy, I mean, even just the name shows you how out of touch these people are, right? Highbrow Hippy, I've been to these types of parties in Los Angeles. These people are horrible. They're not actually having fun. It's all, as you say, a performance. It's all to show for the cameras that we love each other, that we're all supportive of each other, but it doesn't feel at all real. And I just thought Highbrow Hippy is actually how Meghan would view herself. And that's why she is failing, because being a highbrow hippie means that you think that you're above the rest of the world.
Oh, they absolutely do. And that's the thing with Hollywood is that it's such a shallow place. Every relationship is essentially transactional. I'm friends with you because maybe at some point you might be useful to me and
Yes.
vice versa. And that's how the whole ecosystem there is. And so Meghan Markle is very much a part of that. And you'll notice that many of her friendships follow that very similar pattern. She's friends with people until they're no longer useful to her, or she thinks maybe that they've overused her in some way and she can't really get a use out of them anymore. That's sort of the dynamic that exists in much of Hollywood. And most of these people, yeah, they're not really friends. They're not really that close, but they'll fake it. They'll do this whole display because it's all about the perception, the performance. It's not really about the actual relationships. And Meghan very much sees herself as this highbrow hippie. And you'll notice in the companies that she has publicly said that she's invested in are all companies that have products that are, you could say, sort of high end, that they're outside what most people can afford. And so she's not investing in, let's say, a startup that's really struggling, that just needs somebody to come in, an angel investor to really help them. Says the Collective to even have an investor. And Meghan, I think, kind of called them and goes, well, I like your stuff and I wear it and I hope more people buy it. So can I invest in you? So hopefully more people buy and I make money. It's a very strange investment strategy in some respects. And so it's very much, though, all transactional. It is very fake, very shallow, very vapid, this world that Meghan Markle lives in.
Speaking of Harry, his absence was glaring. In moments like this, their supposed united front feels increasingly fractured. According to The Telegraph, Harry's solo appearances have similarly lacked cohesion, leading to speculation about their working dynamic. Are they strategically splitting public appearances? Or is this a sign of deeper cracks in their relationship? Now, this part had me scratching my head. A gospel choir was included in the event, but it felt completely out of place. Patriots, it's clear Meghan is still leaning heavily into imagery and symbolism to craft a narrative. But as earlier disclosed by The Spectator, overusing such tactics without genuine connection can backfire, leaving audiences feeling manipulated rather than inspired.
It is, but it's clear though, Brittany, that deep down, she's not comfortable at the moment. That's why we're seeing these very over-the-top displays on red carpets, when she knows that all of the attention is about the fact that, oh my goodness, here she is again in public without Prince Harry. The professional separation starts to look a bit personal, doesn't it? Because this is her brand. This is something she's invested in. Prince Harry's meant to be this very supportive beau. He can't be bothered to show up.
It's very true. And I've always said, since we got this line of, oh, there's going to be a professional separation, is that eventually that professional separation is going to become a personal one. It's just kind of tends to go that way. But she's very much, without Harry, it just looks a little bit odd because they are salt and pepper. They're supposed to be together. And you wonder, is he really supporting her and everything? But I think at the same time, too, Meghan Markle, as she gets more insecure, as things aren't going well, especially as American Riviera Orchard goes through trademark hell, I think she tends to like to just cling to people. That's sort of how she gets her, I guess, comfort blanket or something, is by clinging to people. And she can't cling to Harry, so she now has to cling to somebody else. She's constantly clinging. No matter where she's going, she needs to cling to someone.
I mean, should we almost feel sorry for her, Brittany, the fact that Harry seems to have ditched her pursuits, or does she deserve that?
Wouldn't say necessarily that she deserves that, but I wonder if the stress of everything they're under does have this impact. They are going separate directions professionally as an indicator that they have, as a couple, publicly, in terms of business and everything, have failed. That's why they have to go separately now, is that together they didn't work. And so as professionally as they go now, they have to separate. And so you have this obvious failure in the rearview mirror, and they're trying to right the ship, you could say, because they have a massive mortgage, they have a massive upkeep, they have a massive security bill, so many things that they burden themselves with, that every setback, I'm sure, generates more and more tension in the household. Because I mean, they've lost $20+ million, you could say, maybe potentially with Spotify, millions more with Netflix, most likely. And so they're out quite a bit of money of what they could have made. And so they have to be starting to get a little concerned because I don't think the deals are coming in anymore. And Harry's basically going, I'm going to be a philanthropist. I'm not even going to work really anymore because can't really make money being a philanthropist. So he's basically given up having any sort of job. And so she's now the sole breadwinner. So their dynamics in their relationship have to be shifting. And I don't think necessarily in a good way.
Britney nailed it when she said Meghan comes across as a D-list celebrity. For someone who spent time in the royal family, there's an expectation of poise and professionalism. Instead, Meghan's demeanor often feels unpolished, as if she's still trying to find her footing in Hollywood rather than embracing her royal past. As earlier disclosed by Page 6, her appearances are increasingly being compared to celebrity stunts rather than meaningful engagements. Let's pause for a moment to talk about the absurd price tag of Highbrow Hippy services, $5.50 for a hair treatment. Patriots, in a time when most families are struggling to make ends meet, this kind of branding feels out of touch at best and elitist at worst. According to Forbes, successful celebrity ventures often balance luxury with accessibility. Meghan's choices here send the wrong message to an already skeptical public. This event is part of a larger pattern, a PR strategy that seems increasingly disjointed. Meghan's attempts to rebuild her brand often fall flat, and moments like this make it clear why. As earlier disclosed by The Guardian, public trust in the Sussexes has declined steadily since their royal exit. Events like this only widen that gap. Britney's critique that Meghan lacks the decorum of someone who's spent time in the royal family is spot on. As conservatives, we value tradition, respect, and grace, qualities Meghan seems to have abandoned in favor of celebrity theatrics. The contrast with other royals, like Princess Kate, couldn't be starker.
Exactly, so it's on you. Making the money is on you, Meghan. Mm-hmm. And then we were just looking at that first public appearance of the couple in 3 months. Now, according to Taz on the show last week, said that there was more warmth between two polar bears. It certainly was an awkward appearance. And given, Britney, this was a big deal. I mean, this is the first time we've seen them do something official on camera for such a long time. Were you convinced by this?
Not really. I actually felt like this was some of the most awkward stuff we've seen from them. And the awkwardness really became apparent during their CBS interview in August. That's when it became beyond apparent that something had gone wrong. And yes, every couple has their fights and has their moments, but most professionals are able to compose themselves, at least on camera. And Harry and Meghan could not do that. Neither one of them seemed to be able to do it. And this most recent appearance, you could tell like there was a line, I think it was maybe together or something that Harry looked like, oh, that was my cue. And he put his arm around her. She didn't acknowledge him, didn't react at all. And they just looked very strange and awkward together. There wasn't, I mean, it was a very serious event, so sometimes those things are hard to gauge, but it also didn't seem like there was much warmth between them at all in that video.
No, and what's interesting is the argument that we're always told from people close to Harry and Meghan is that the reason they attend events separately is so that one of them can stay at home with the children. But that didn't necessarily look to be the case over the weekend because Prince Harry, surprise, surprise, ends up in Canada for an appearance that no one had been expecting or predicting. Have a look at this. And Lady Colin Campbell has posted some really interesting information about this, Britney, which I want to read and then I'll get you to respond off the back. She writes, the bongo bongo drums have been beating about Prince Harry's quick in and out appearance at the Canadian Cup final last night in Vancouver prior to the Invictus Games. Games being held there and in Whistler from the 8th to the 16th of February. Harry looked very nervous. My impression was that it was all forced enthusiasm, possibly because it has been made clear to him Meghan is not welcome, and her presence will be a blight on the games if she does attend with him. Let's see what happens. And Lady C goes on, yes, let's see. especially as how the rumours that they're on the verge of parting are louder than ever. So will she attend, if only to defeat the rumours, while also availing herself of the irresistible lure of the spotlight? I, for one, don't believe a word that emanates from anyone associated with them, especially the two of them. Hopefully Dan Wootton will cover this with one of the many excellent guests he has on his excellent show, Dan Wootton Outspoken. Well, Lady C, I absolutely will. I've got Brittany here, and Brittany, it is fascinating, isn't it? Because Canada and the Invictus Games don't want Meghan there. This surprise appearance was without Meghan, and so the big question is, will she show up to Whistler?
Patriots, this isn't just about one awkward event. It's about the growing fatigue among the public toward Meghan's constant attempts to stay relevant. According to a recent YouGov poll, her approval ratings have plummeted, both in the US and the UK. The message is clear: people are tired of the drama. This event highlights a broader issue: Meghan's disconnect from the values that make the royal family a global institution. Her focus on luxury and theatrics undermines the core principles of service and humility that the monarchy represents. History has shown us that public figures who overreach without substance often face backlash. Meghan's path is starting to resemble that of other celebrities who fell out of favor by prioritizing optics over authenticity.
I mean, it is a huge question. And I've had sort of an interesting going theory that I'm wondering about, is that in some ways, yes, I don't think they particularly maybe like her presence because Meghan Markle distracts from the games themselves. All the coverage goes to her, none of the competitors. And the only way the Invictus Games can survive is if it reorients back to the competitors and their stories. That's what's compelling about it. Meghan Markle is just kind of a distracting sideshow. And so to not have her there, I think would be a benefit to them. But at the same time, I think her presence also brings media eyeballs that the games wouldn't normally get otherwise. So I feel like they're almost stuck between a rock and a hard place because they don't probably really want her there, yet at the same time, her presence gets them more attention. And so I don't know if we can say for sure definitively whether she will be there or not. She was definitely there for the promotional event earlier this year, and I think it was about February. And so she may come to the games for a shorter period of time yet again, but the games I think are somewhat beginning to struggle. They obviously need a lot of influx of cash from Canada in order to put these games on. So it'll be a question, I think, of whether or not they really find Harry and Meghan to be beneficial to the promotion of the games or a deterrent. It's unclear now at this point where it's going to go. But if you look at the lineup for the musical guests, at least for me, I didn't really know any of them, or a couple of them are, musical stars that are like 20 years behind the trend. So it'll be interesting to see how the reaction to the games is, because I don't think they're getting a lot of people in the seats.
I know. It's really interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. But again, these separate appearances and then an awkward video, no wonder Lady Colin Campbell makes the points that she does.
If Meghan wants to salvage her reputation, she needs to focus on genuine, meaningful engagement rather than staged performances. The public values sincerity, not spectacle. Meghan's actions don't just affect her, they reflect on Harry as well. If the Sussexes want to maintain their relevance, they need to present a united front grounded in authenticity. Ultimately, this event isn't just about Meghan, it's about the cultural shift we are seeing. The public is no longer content with superficial celebrity narratives. They want substance, accountability, and real connection. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Was Meghan's Highbrow Hippy appearance a genuine effort, or just another PR disaster? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow patriots. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay proud.